Hello, I'm Axel, and this time I'm here with Shannon. So, Shannon, please introduce yourself and tell people who you are and what do you do.
I'm Shannon. I'm the coach at Strength Camp, and I'm also the manager of the gym. I come from Bloomdale, Ohio, here in the United States. I grew up on a farm, and now living in Florida.
Can you tell me how do you came across the Strength Camp and what is your background and what led you to come to Strength Camp?
What led me to Strength Camp was after playing college football, I suffered a torn ACL, torn MCL, and torn meniscus in my left knee. It actually required 3 surgeries to fix it. And so one day, it was after my 3rd surgery. I was sick of going to rehab and sick of not making any progress, not feeling like an athlete like I had for, really since I was a young kid, since about 4 or 5 years old. And I had just turned 23. I felt very handicapped in a way, like almost disabled from what I used to be. I always consider myself an athlete because that's what I truly am. Is what's led me to where I am today. So I was almost depressed because of that. I couldn't move properly. I wasn't lifting weights. If I was, it was going in for bodybuilding workouts in the gym. I was getting abs and getting upper body muscles looking good, but I wasn't squatting. I wasn't running. I wasn't doing any sort of cutting. And as a football player, that's what I was always used to. And so I was searching on the internet one night, and I came across in one of Elliot's videos about hand strength, because my pull-ups were lacking, and because I was in the mindset of if I can't lift my lower body, I at least want to lift my upper body. So I found one of his videos on hand strength, and just I think as many people do, they watch one of his videos, and then they watch another one,
Yeah.
and then this was all on his Strength Camp channel.
Right.
So I was like, whoa, this guy, and I realized later on what attracts I think so many of us to him, and to Strength Camp, what we all do here, is that Elliot and Chris present information the way that I listen.
Right.
So a lot of people, even though they might be really popular, the big musclehead dudes, and they get great results,
Right.
it's just their energy or the way they were talking to the camera, it just didn't click with how I learn or how I listen, to be able to learn. So I found these guys, and one thing led to another. I was like, well, I tried a few things out that he gave me tip-wise in the gym, and they worked. So I was like, okay, and in the back of my head, the depressed state of me was like, okay, I know that my lower body is, my knee, especially my left leg, is very weak, and that's the thing that's holding me back. So I needed to work on that. I looked up some videos on both Elliot and Chris's channels of how do I rehabilitate an ACL injury, because this was finishing up my 12th week of rehab for just a minor scope to remove scar tissue, and I still wasn't anywhere where I was close to being or even feeling like. So I tried a few things out that they told me to do, and they started working. So it's an amazing thing what happens here at Strength Camp is the confidence that you build. I started to get my mojo back. I started moving. I knew that was holding me back. The lower body started to combine with the upper body again, and I was feeling like my old self. And mind you, I came off my highest high of my athletic career was senior year of college, winning a national championship. That was the goal.
Right.
Like you have a goal of winning an Olympic medal. With where I was at in college football, that was the
Winning
highest goal.
championship.
Yeah,
Right.
and I had accomplished that with no left knee, essentially. On torn ligaments, I played through it. A lot of pain.
Right.
Totally worth it. Absolutely worth it in my opinion. But now the effects, I've had to have 3 surgeries, and it kind of held me back later in
Right.
life. But to me, it's an awesome story that I can continue to tell from years now. But what had led me to Strength Camp was not only the videos, I love those, but I still hadn't, taken the step of like signing up for the newsletters or, subscribing to the channel or anything like that. But I actually found Elliot's Elliot Said What channel or whatever his
This second
the
channel,
personal
right?
development
Yeah,
stuff, and that stuff blew my mind. That was really what had me go all in, if you will, because I was 23. I had, like I said, I'd come off my highest high of winning a national championship in football. I graduated college. I earned 2 business degrees and a minor in entrepreneurship. So I wanted to be in business. I had spent my entire second semester of my senior year in college, which was the only free semester I had, if you will, because I didn't have any athletic requirements. You know, I was done playing football in December, and I had 1 semester to enjoy of college to be like a normal kid. You know, so it was
Right.
really cool when I got to enjoy myself and what was that?
Do you know where?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was really a chance for me to become a normal college student or to feel like a normal person because
Yeah.
the whole time I was there, it was tunnel vision towards football. And so 2 days after I graduated, I started full time at my job, which I worked for John Deere. I don't know if you farm tractors, farm equipment.
Heard of it something, but you know I don't buy farm equipment, so I don't know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
precisely.
Well, they're how can I say this? How strength camp is to you of like training, they're that of like farming.
Oh,
They're
I see, like
the number one in the world.
Yeah,
You know.
I get you.
So I was working for John Deere. I was 2 days after I graduated college. I was only 22 years old, and I was working right with one of the owners, and it was great. I was on salary, full time insurance. You know, from day one, had all my benefits taken care of. I was earning really good money, but I was working like 8 to 5, and then on the weekends it was every other weekend I had to work from 8 to noon or 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. depending on the season. And
That was in Ohio.
that was in Ohio. Yeah, that was after I graduated college. So really, it was really good for me. I'll never, be resentful towards that experience that I had. But what was probably the biggest thing happening in my life was I felt myself because when I went off to college, I was the only one from my group of friends or family to leave the area. See, I grew up on a farm and in the middle of the country, but I went 3 hours away from home to go to school and to play football and things like that. So I only got to go home and visit every once in a while. And then I stayed a couple summers at school, Mount Union, to train for football, and I had to work and live by myself and things like that. And I was very grateful because it allowed me to grow up and mature. But when I came home, all my friends had stayed there for college, so they always got to hang out with each other. And me being kind of like the leader of my group of friends, or kind of, when I come back home, it's a bigger party because I'm there, and it's my friends are like family to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like everybody's back together. And so when I got back, it was May of 2013, and I had just started, like I mentioned earlier, to do more rehab with my left knee and feel good about myself. And I was settled into my career in sales, and I was making great money. I actually had a company pickup truck, so I didn't have to pay for anything because I was living at home. Didn't have rent or anything to pay for. Just had to buy lunch, every day that I was working. So in a way, I would label it as I was spoiled in that scenario. And because I had such big goals and accomplished a lot of things for what people around me or in Ohio do, they don't have, a lot of people don't set really huge goals. I've always been the type of, people think I'm crazy because like I say I'm going to do something and then I go do it, and it's like, well, the whole time until I prove that I can do it, they think I'm crazy. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
they're also very supportive at the same time. I'm sure you've gone through
Similar situations, more so that they don't believe me than
exactly. But that's
the support is lacking. I'm not over here, but over there. Like,
yeah.
But okay.
Until you prove them wrong, right? And then they
They're
can't
like,
deny it.
Yeah, they're like, I know you have that in you. It's like,
Yeah.
Like nothing special.
So in your situation, you could take that one of two ways. You could be
Yeah.
really bitter towards it, or you can accept it and say,
Yeah, in
I'm
a way,
going to.
I had a similar situation with my godfather. He's like, tall people cannot sprint very fast, and then I was like, yo, I got 11 something something. He's like, oh, then that's very fast. And I was like, then I will come back and tell him my times right now. So
Yeah. That felt good, right?
Yeah, I'm looking toward meeting him. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome, man. So, because, and in the same situation, that's how it was to me. I kind of always had to prove somebody wrong. You know, now that my athletic career was done, um, I probably could have had a chance to go professional, things like that. I had the size and speed and experience, but I had no good left knee. So that was kind of
right.
done. My dreams were shattered at that point. But I always wanted to do something bigger than average. You know, that maybe just one step above average or maybe 10 steps above average. But I always set my goals really, really high. That saying, you know, shoot for the stars, because even if you don't hit the stars, you land in the clouds. You're still higher than the ground level, right?
Right.
So I had actually felt that things were back home. They were all in perfect alignment. You know, I was making money. I was saving money because I had big dreams of, you know, always wanted to own my own business or start something where I could enjoy life more than being tied to someone else's time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I also
be
really
independent and what.
yes, independent in every single way, financially, you know, time, things like that. So I also really enjoyed watching Elliot's non-job videos because it just made perfect sense to me, which is what I'm doing now.
Right.
So it's really cool how it all worked out. But I remember, since it was May, it was start of the summer. You know, I was home. Everybody was home partying. I had a great summer that first time back. But I remember, because we did so much partying, it had felt like I had come down more than one notch from my highest high of you know, athletic career and accomplishments. Yeah. I just wanted to continue to grow, you know, vertically, right? But it felt like I had started to plateau or decline. It's all like in training lingo, but that's what it was, how I'm picturing it. It felt like I was going downhill instead of continuing to climb uphill, or the ladder that you and I spoke about.
Yeah.
So I wasn't getting anywhere towards my goals that I really wanted to. I wasn't challenging myself. Like, the work was easy, and everything just came way too easy. So I was uncomfortable being comfortable. All my needs were taken care of. You know, I was settled in.
Yeah, I got you.
And it was really alarming to me when the boss that I would, the owner that I was working for every day, he said he actually was trying to groom me to take over his position because he had started there when he was 22 years old. At that point, he was 52 years old. So he was 30 years older than me. But he said that was like the end of, or like, I don't want to say the end of his life, but that's all he did.
End of this, you know, period over there.
He never really challenged himself after that. He did the normal things. He got married. He had kids. You know, bought a house and got into debt and all this stuff. You know, buying new trucks and things like that. And I was like, well, how? Not how boring, because that's the wrong word, but how limiting would that be? Of, you know, I felt like I have a really good story to share with people, and I was like, I'm not going to get to share the story by talking to farmers all the time. But I loved talking with farmers and just being around them, because I grew up like that. I was very comfortable doing that.
That was your environment, right?
Yeah, but and partying with my friends and stuff, I remember, you know, even after the late nights and being drunk and having a great time and stuff like that, I'm praying before I go to bed, and I'm just saying, you know, God, I'm not happy. You know, don't get me wrong, I had fun, but there was a difference between that feeling in your heart, like a burden in your heart of saying, I'm just not happy where I'm at. So my progression throughout that summer was kind of the same thing, but I was also watching more strength camp videos and getting back into the flow of like training people like an athlete, training myself, and also going further with business knowledge and personal development than I ever had. And I realize now that was a very critical time in my life, you know, young 20s, to experiment, to find new things and figure out what's going to make me happy for the rest of my life. So I signed up for their newsletter, Chris and Elliot's thing, and I was checking my emails one day. I was soaking up everything. Learning became so much more fun to me because, again, they were speaking how I listen. and they were speaking what I want to listen to.
Yeah.
So it was like everything they were putting out, I was soaking up and utilizing in my life, and it was making those changes that I needed. It put me back into a state of being uncomfortable, but again, I feel almost comfortable being uncomfortable. Like I embrace it. You know, like if somebody says back home for you, I don't think you can run that fast. Well, are you going to accept it, or are you going to say, I'm going to prove you wrong?
I just won't listen. Yeah.
Exactly. So that whole time, I felt like it, and I felt something growing inside of me. You know, they planted a seed, and something was happening inside me. I was crushing work. I was doing really, really well. I was young, successful, so much so to the fact that some people in higher positions within my own company were resentful towards me, and I at the time I didn't know why. You know, it was almost like they were a little jealous, or just, I don't know. It was a weird feeling, but now I realized it was a problem they had with themselves. They weren't angry towards me. They were probably angry towards me, but they were angry at themselves. If that makes sense.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. So it was like they didn't saw what they want to see in themselves, so they were angry at you that you had what they didn't had.
Yeah, exactly, because
Right.
things were working for me.
Right.
But what they didn't see was all the work that you put in behind the scenes.
Mhm.
When you're on the Olympic track one day, nobody's going to see all the work, all the technique drills that you've done here at strength camp or on your own, and what you've done each day, you know, of riding your bike to the gym. You know, nobody's going to see that.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that except a very select few in here, which I'm very grateful for that, for seeing your process through this whole time. And that's just what this place does, you know. So I got their newsletter, and I got an invitation to come down for the strength camp clinic, which they put on the summer of 2014. And so it was only the second time I've ever been on an airplane. Flew down from Ohio to Florida, stayed in some sketchy hotel over on 54th and Haynes Avenue called the Knights Inn, where there's like
Similar
drug
like
dealers.
me,
Yeah.
Canada Lights In.
Exactly. People knock on your door late at night, or you hear voices, and you're like, I'm gonna get robbed, or you know. So, and then that it was like for 2.5 days or something, and I just wanted to show them, or to meet these guys, to meet Elliot and Chris, and say thank you for the difference that they've made in my life. And at the time, I was like, I feel really blessed and lucky, because I live a good life. And the difference that they made in my life, you know, I was very fortunate when I was growing up. Both parents, you know, raised me and both of my brothers. I had both sets of grandparents still living. They live within 5 miles of me, even though I lived out in the country. They live within 5 miles of me, and they were always there to support me at everything I ever did. But as far as athletics go, because I was so determined to be an athlete at a young age. You know, my brothers were very, very smart, and not that I'm not smart, but they were like very smart, like the highest test scores that you can possibly get every year. And I was kind of like, I did enough to get by, you know, even though I was very smart. I wanted to put my energy towards sports. So when I was there was 16 total people from all over the world that came to the clinic at the old gym, which I don't know if you've ever been to the old gym.
I've never been there, but
It's
of course
tiny.
I've seen the video.
Yeah, it's way smaller than the place that we're at now, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Is where I started, but these guys were from all over the world.
I think I saw you in some videos over there also.
Yeah. Yep. So just in the matter of that weekend, it was just basically hanging out, learning what these guys have to say, and kind of getting to talk to them a little bit. And actually, we went to the Avenue, which is downtown. It's a burger place, really good, as on a Saturday night to kind of wrap up the weekend and say thanks for everything. And Chris actually was asking me questions the whole time of, you know, with my athletic background and just how I interact with people and things like that. He asked, he's like, would you ever want to coach? Like, learn about, you know, that? I said, yeah, absolutely, because I'm not happy where I'm at now, but I said, sure. So I'll never forget it. We were in the middle of a group, and probably like 10 of us were talking, and then I was actually on the back, like near the fences in the corner, and Elliot came up in the middle of the group, and we were all having this conversation, and like everybody stopped. It was like, oh my gosh, Elliot's gonna say something, and he looks right at me. He's like, hey man, he's like, he's like, you got a minute? Can we go talk? And everybody was like, oh, like what do you do? Or you know what I mean? Like they thought it was
Busted.
crazy. Yeah, like, I was like, what did I do?
Yeah.
You know, at that time I was like, yeah, sure. What's up, man? And so he pulled me off the side, and him and Chris were there, and they offered me. They got to talking with me, and they said, how would you want to be an intern down here at Strength Camp? I said, well, I'd love that. You know, I said, you guys do what I enjoy watching or learning about, and I think I've got skills to help this journey as well. And so they said, okay, just think about it, and we'll stay in touch with you. So by the time Chris and I had finalized all the details of the internship, he said, I remember, never forget it, I was sitting in my truck at work and got off the phone with him. He said, cool, are you down? He's like, are you down to do this? I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. He said, cool, we'll start in 3 weeks, and hung up. And I remember sitting there like, well, I guess I better go quit my job. Which was very uncomfortable for me too, because I had, like I said, I had it good there. You know, I felt almost spoiled for as hard as I was working,
right,
and as much success as I was having there, but I never felt happy. So 3 weeks later, after I told my family, my friends, and obviously quit my job, but I packed my truck full of stuff that I thought I'd need for 3 months, because that's what we agreed on the internship would be, and moved down to Florida. Drove down, it was a 20-hour drive. I didn't have a place to stay, so I stayed in a hotel for like 4 or 5 days. At the same time, I was started to work at Strength Camp here. First day was an open gym day, so it was very cool at the old gym. I got to, Danny was filming, I think, and got all the toys out. Everybody was playing. It was amazing. And then I found my place to stay on the beach, because I was like, I don't want to live in the city. I'm not from the city. I don't enjoy
right,
noise and people who are crazy and things like that. So got a quiet little spot out on Madeira Beach, and I was here for about 2.5 months, and then Chris gave me an opportunity to be more full-time, and it was going to be, more of an entrepreneur. So all the clients that I would bring in that'd be how I got paid.
oh, I see.
So that has evolved into now moving to a new gym and running full classes, because when it started, I was only helping Chris with his classes, his athletes, the swimmers and football players. And then I actually started a Strength Camp class that was like 3 days a week at 8 o'clock at night. 8 to 9. It was weird.
Right.
And then we were building the online coaching program.
A lot of people would come to that? Like, were they able
it was
to
like
come?
4 or 5. So, but it was, to me, I was like, cool. Like,
At least something, right?
Something, yeah, it started. So then, right at the beginning of the year, after I went home for Christmas, came back, and then Mark started like maybe 2 weeks later, and then probably a week later, after Mark started, we moved over to this gym, installed all the turf. I mean, I got some crazy stories of like before anybody else was here. It was just used to be me, Chris, and Danny in that old gym, because Elliot's got his own office now, and it was just us hanging out, training the whole time. And now we have classes going, 7 times a day. I've got one-on-one clients. We've got online coaching clients. We've got sprinters from Latvia coming over here, working out with us, training. And it's crazy how much time that I think I have invested, but it's such a reward that I get. And the coolest part is that it's only the beginning. Like, this place is gonna explode. So that's how I got here right now. A lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, as any of us who are here have put in or invested. But the reward is definitely there right now. I think it always will be too.
Right.